Apparently we can start now that Lily Shambles is here. Welcome into the Nutmeg Tavern. We are live. I'm your host, John Townsend. We're going to be talking about fun 18th century stuff today, specifically food. Yes, we talk about food a lot here on the channel, but we are going to kind of do a deep dive in the contents of what you're going to find here in this particular cookbook, rather than just kind of a over-the-top surveying. But I am your host, John Townsend, and I am also joined by the folks on the other side of the time vortex. You can't see them, but you can hear them. They're ghostly voices. There's Lauren in the chat.
Hello.
And Ivy on the console.
Hello.
There they are. So they're there. They're there to keep me in line so that I don't go wandering off into who knows where, which I am wont to do. So today's episode is about this little cookbook called American Cookery by Amelia Simmons. And this is certainly the most important American cookbook of the 18th century because it's the only one. But it's massively important for us to understand kind of food things going on in the 18th century, because this is like the the Rosetta Stone. Like we'll have something like Eliza Smith's cookbook, The Complete Housewife. We might have a Hannah Glass's cookbook from the 18th century. Maybe some other very, very particular high-end, or let's say super popular cookbooks from that time period. But this is the one that gives us the idea of what the English were cooking, where other influences are coming in and changing the food in America versus what came in from England. Also, we can see influences of other cultures in here, specifically Native American cooking, and things like German cooking are showing up here in this cookbook, possibly especially Dutch cooking, because this is printed in the New York region, and there's a lot of Dutch influence. So we get to see multiple different traditions coming in and blending and changing because of not only those different cultures coming in, but the kinds of foods that are available in America. So we'll dig in here. This cookbook was printed in 1796 and 1797. And some people basically plagiarized it and copied it into the early 19th century. So we might see cookbooks from, say, 1820 that are basically the same thing. Somebody put a different name on it and off she goes. It's a tiny little cookbook compared to some of the other ones, but it has a lot of content in it. It is missing certain things that we would want to see in it. It's like, oh, why isn't there a recipe for this, that, and the other thing? I don't know why, right? It's like, are there bread recipes like what we really want in here? No. Are there some other things? No. That we really want to see. But we do have some very special things like recipes for corn, which you will, and when I say corn, I mean maize. You won't find them in the English cookery cookbooks of the 18th century. They weren't cooking with that. You will find chemical leavening in this cookbook, which is incredible. You will not find, though, that in English cookbooks of the 18th century. Doesn't happen. So, and we got some specific kind of vocabulary that we can pick up on that's not happening in the English cookbooks. And we also see some simplification of the language, making it, we can see that she's expecting us to understand certain things right off the bat, because some of these recipes are simplified, and other times she's going to explain things that other cookbooks won't. So some really, really good stuff. Let's start off with what the cookbook starts off with. Now that there is some funny things here. So the frontispiece here, the original one might have just had a blank paper cover, and then you would find this on the inside. American Cookery, the art of dressing viands, fish, poultry, and vegetables, and the best methods of making pastes, puffs, pies, tarts, puddings, custards, and preserves of all kinds of cakes, from the imperial plum to the plain cake, adapted to this country and all grades of life, by Amelia Simmons, an American orphan.
Marketing?
Yeah. Published according to Act of Congress, Hartford, and printed by Hudson and Goodwin for the author, 1796. Was she really an orphan? People say that that's sort of metaphorical. You know, it's like the Americans were orphaned, or, you know, we're not really sure. Right? So it's kind of a shadowy figure, even though she's made this really, really important cookbook. But so here we go. We got a preface. I'm not going to read the preface, but in here, well, I'll read the first part just because it's fun. As this treatise is calculated for the improvement of the rising generation of females in America, the lady of fashion and fortune will not be displeased if many hints are suggested for the more general and useful knowledge of those females in this country who, by the loss of their parents or other unfortunate circumstances, are reduced to the necessity of going into families in the line of domestics, or taking refuge with their friends or relations, or doing those things which are really essential to perfecting them as good wives and useful members of society. So, yeah, this is written for people who might not have all the knowledge they need all ready to start off with. So, like many cookbooks of the time period, this starts off with, in fact, a large portion of this, because the whole thing is only, what, 40, 50, like 48, 49 pages, right? A large section of it, like half of it, seemingly, the first 16 pages of our 48, so a good portion of it, doesn't have anything to do with, doesn't have any receipts or recipes, as we would call them today, but she's talking about the ingredients themselves. And this is really important because it's telling us the kinds of ingredients that they're going to find in colonial America in 1796. So right off the bat, it's like, well, what were grocery stores, what were the markets like at the time? What are you going to find? And she's telling us not only what we're going to find, but how to choose the best ones. And there are a couple of really interesting things. Did you read the salmon one about choosing salmon?
Just the first little bit. I'm like, this sounds good. This is a good one.
Well, yes. Okay. So, choosing food. Beef. We're going to start off with the most important thing, beef. The large stall-fed ox beef is the best. It has a coarse, open grain and oily smoothness. Dent it with your finger and it will immediately rise again. If old, it will be rough and spongy and the dent will remain. So beef, super important part of our cooking here. Let's see, does she spend time with pork at all? Even though it's so no, I don't see that. Interesting.
I didn't keep everything, so
Okay.
some of it, I know, like, there were other ones that I didn't keep, so.
Right, so we're dealing with fresh beef here. Let me just check in. I'm going to check this version here. This one actually starts off with, yeah, how to choose flesh. And she goes on to talk about mutton and lamb and veal and pork. And all she says about pork is known by its size and whether properly fattened by its appearance.
Doesn't go into more detail.
Right, like, well, if you can't figure out good pork, then you're stupid, I guess is what she's going to say. But then she moves on to, oh, wait, see, look at that. To make the best bacon. So that's really super interesting. It's not in the cooking part, but
Yeah,
it's in
that's
the
why
food
I
part.
have it in between
Okay,
at
so,
the start of the recipes. 'Cause I was confused because it's, I think, the only what I would consider a recipe that shows up in this section where she's talking about, like, it's a preserving recipe, and she's talking about it here in the actual picking the food part. I was a little confused about the sequence.
Yeah. bloaters end up in this section too?
No, I didn't. I don't think I saved them.
Okay, I don't see them here, but okay. Anyway, so we move on to fish, choosing the best fish, and boy, you know, we live in Indiana, and we don't do a lot of fish shopping, right? So a fresh fish market, it isn't here, but when I see videos of fish markets, anyway, salmon. The noble and richest fish taken in fresh waters. The largest are the best. They're unlike almost every other fish, are ameliorated by being 3 or 4 days out of the water. I don't know about that. If kept from heat and the moon.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, don't.
Which has a much more injurious effect than the sun.
Don't let that moon. Don't let those moon rays get too close to
Don't get
this.
moon rays on your salmon. Don't do it. Protect your salmon from the moon. I know you're probably thinking, oh man, I left my salmon out all night long and he got moonshine on it. Oh no. So, something I think we can all learn. Don't let moon shine on your old salmon. In all great fish markets, great fishmongers strictly examine the gills. If the bright redness is exchanged for a low brown, they are stale. But when live fish are brought flouncing into the market, you have only to elect the kind most agreeable to your palate and season. So if they're flipping around, hey, just choose the one you like the best. Okay. And then there's a little section here on choosing your eels.
Now, we actually could get some eels around here, right?
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, not right now, but the Eel River would have had eels in them.
Oh, you mean in the time period?
Yeah.
Yeah. Today, you're not going to find
not
many
so
eels.
much anymore, right?
Right.
But if we travel back, right, we definitely can.
Now, they have taken out a lot of dams.
That's true. Yep.
So there used to be little dams here and there so like Colomer, not very many miles away on the Eel River, there was a dam, and it would kind of keep fish and especially eels from coming up, and maybe more of these things might come back into our rivers now because of that. Eels, she doesn't say much. She says eels, though taken from muddy bottoms, are best to jump in the pan. So if you're cooking eels, you'll want them to be alive and jumping in the pan. Youchie. Okay. Glad I'm not an eel. She goes on to spend time in poultry. Lauren has chopped a whole bunch of poultry out for us. Some of the, she talks about peahens here. That's interesting. Turkeys, dunghill fowl, and then chickens are separate from that. Goose, ducks, wild ducks, woodcock, snipes, partridge, pigeons. But what does she say about goose? A goose, if young, the bill will be yellow, and it will have but few hairs, and the bones will crack easily. But if old, the contrary, the bill will be red, and the pads still redder, the joint stiff, and difficultly disjoined. If young otherwise, choose one not very fleshy on the breast, but fat in the rump. So very interesting. It's like, don't get too much meat on your goose. Well, let me tell you, if you've ever tried cooking goose, they are greasy, and there's not much meat in the breast anyway. At least, I don't know, maybe they don't bother today. We're used to turkeys and chickens, and they've spent literally 70 years doing massive quantities of crossbreeding, so that now these animals are just, I don't know, they must look like aliens from another planet, because They have all this breast meat and everything else is shrunk it down, and they grow super fast, all that. But I don't think anybody's worked on crossbreeding geese until they got to something useful. They're like, yeah, it's a goose, whatever. So they don't have any meat on them at all. At least not the ones I messed with. It's like, I don't even know why people would eat this. They did in the 18th century, and here she is saying, choose one not very fleshy. Like you could find one that way. She goes on to talk about butter and cheese. Butter. Tight, waxy, yellow butter is better than white or crumbly butter. Well, duh.
Don't get the crumbly butter.
Which soon becomes rancid and frowy. Let's just stick with rancid. We don't even need to know what frowy means. Probably not good. He was pretty frowy. Anyway, go into the center of the balls or rolls to prove and judge it. If in a firkin, which is a little wooden kind of barrel, the middle is to be preferred, as the outsides are frequently distasted by the wood of the firkin, although oak and used for years. So even though it might be old, it affects the butter, basically. New pine tubs are ruinous to the butter. To have sweet butter in dog days, in other words, like this time of year, hot days, and the vegetable season, send stone pots to honest, neat, and trusty dairy people, and procure it, packed it down in May, and let them be brought in the night, and or the cool of a rainy morning, covered with a cloth, wet in cold water, and partake no heat from the horse. In other words, like what? Put them in your saddlebags. Don't have those butter tubs in the saddlebags. They'll heat up. And let the pots in the coolest part of your cellar or in the ice house. And here we have. She's not necessarily. She's not George Washington's housemaid. Not the richest people in the universe. And here she is talking about ice houses. And this is 1796. So, we find references to that later, but the idea that we're finding a reference to an ice house in middling class people here in 1796, very, very interesting. Cheese. The red, smooth, moist-coated, and tight-pressed, square-edged cheese are better than white coat, hard rind, or bilged. That means it's swelling. We don't want cheese that is doing that. The inside should be yellow and flavored to your taste. No, I want to get cheese that's not flavored to my taste. Old shelves, which have only been wiped down for years, are preferable to scoured and washed shelves, where so you're putting those cheese on the shelves, and you kind of put salt on the shelves and everything. And you want the shelves to be. Don't wash them. Just don't even do that. Deceits are used by saltpetering the outside, or coloring with hemlock, or, as she says, cucumbers. No, cocuberries. I don't even know what that cocuberries are. Cocumberries. Or saffron, infused into the milk. The taste of either supersedes every possible evasion. So, don't be fooled by the color. Taste it. If it's horrible, bad things are going on. Look at that. Guys, I'm only through the first page. We may have to just zoop ahead here. There's a section on eggs. We're not going to talk about eggs. We already talked about cheese. We got root vegetables. There's a cat. A cat looks.
I was waiting for you to do the egg reading for this slide.
Fine.
Because I love this slide, and then because it was for the cheese and the eggs, and so I just had to show it before you moved on. That's okay.
No,
there you
that's
go.
good.
We can move on now.
I can move on. There's eggs, This is interesting. It's like clear, thin-shelled, longest oval, and sharp eggs are the best. You want those long, skinny eggs, not those round ones. I don't think they. I don't think so. A big section here on potatoes, and if I had lots of time, which I don't, but let's see. She talks about yellow rusticoat, red rusticoat, yellow Spanish. So there are definitely some different types of potatoes. She even says that roast potato is good with beef steaks. Amazing. Thank you for that advice. All potatoes run out or depreciate in America. A fresh importation of Spanish might restore them to table use. Yeah, so sometimes we have this problem with, if you just keep reusing seeds or whatever, they just kind of slowly devolve, and that's what she's talking about there with the potatoes. If you just keep running on your old potato stock, right? It's like save back your seed potatoes. They're going to slowly devolve into something that isn't as good, and you kind of like refresh your stock. There's a section on onions here. There's Madeira white onions are the best in the market, and yes, they are esteemed softer flavored and not so fiery. But the high red and round hard onions are the best if you consult cheapness. The largest are the best if you consult taste and softness. Then the smallest are the most delicate and used at the first tables. So if you want the best, most expensive ones, you want those smaller ones with better flavor. She talks about beets. Yuck. We're not going to do that. Parsnips. Nope. We're not talking about parsnips either. Carrots. She talks about the kind of ground you want to grow them in. And then she says, yellow are better than orange or red. Interesting. Middling sized. That is, a foot long and 2 inches thick at the top end are better than the overgrown ones. Can you imagine what these are? They must be like, I don't know. Here, have a carrot. Oh, it's kind of woody on the inside. Well, yeah, it's the size of a tree. No, we don't want that. Where to cultivate them, what ground, when to get them. She mentions garlic, but the sense here, garlics, though used by the French, are better adapted to the uses of medicine than to cookery.
She's not a fan.
Not a fan. Not a fan. But she does mention it. Asparagus. Well, we're not going to talk about asparagus or artichokes. I don't know why anybody. What?
Wait, you gotta look at the slide.
Oh, sorry.
For the asparagus.
Yes, here's the asparagus slide, and isn't that interesting? No, go back to the asparagus for a second. See that,
The pottery caught
the pottery
Dad's eye.
is what I'm looking at, right? And this gravy boat is what they call it there. Way too cool. And how are you using it? Do you pour out of it? Do you have to dip out of it?
It's like multiple condiments, maybe?
Yeah,
because it looks like it's divided.
It might be divided. It looks like it doesn't.
Or maybe it's a little bar to keep the spoon from dropping into the gravy.
Whoa.
Which,
Yeah, but it looks like it's got something like caviar in it.
I know. It is
So
very
we're confused
mysterious.
by it, but I want to make one. So there's that. Okay, now there's artichokes. Now here it says Jerusalem artichokes are the best, although they're not really. It says are cultivated like potatoes. Because real artichokes, like the ones pictured here, number one, are impossible to cook and don't taste that good. And I don't know why anybody would bother with them. But that's just me.
I don't mind the way they taste, but it is crazy when you have it and then you
like-
get down to the part you were going to use and you're like, I don't know what that was.
Started off with an artichoke the size of a basketball and ate this thing the size of a tiny marble. Anyway, whereas Jerusalem artichokes aren't artichokes at all, and They're like potatoes. I don't know that I've actually ever had Jerusalem artichokes.
I'm not sure one way or the other.
We've grown them, but it's like, why would
Yeah.
we want to eat that? When you have potatoes, why would you want to do that? Cucumbers, yuck. It says here, there are many kinds. The prickly is the best for pickles, but generally bitter. The white is difficult to raise and tender. Choose bright green, smooth, and proper sized. Won't tell you what the size is. This is just proper. We've got melons, watermelons that they're talking about here, and muskmelons, yes. And sometimes we see pictures of watermelons, and they definitely aren't exactly the same kind. It says here the red cord watermelons are the highest flavored. What other kind of watermelons did they have?
Yeah, orange maybe? Pink?
Don't know.
Yes.
Don't know. Okay. Lettuce, various kinds. The purple spotted leaf is generally I've never heard purple spotted leaf.
Why don't
lettuce?
we have this is probably I am always a little sad when you do learn that the varieties we have now have shrunk down to the most portable, right? The ones that don't get injured in shipping. And there are a host of wonderful vegetables that are too fragile.
Right. She talks about cabbage here. Boring. Beans. The clabbered bean is the easiest cultivated and collected, and are good for string beans and will shell, but must be polled. There's the Windsor bean, an early good string or shell bean. The English bean, which they call the horse bean, young is mealy when young, is profitable and easily cultivated. And then she goes on to talk about peas. And then after that, into fruits, pears. Oh, you probably had pea pictures, didn't you?
I do. I have a bean
All right,
picture.
go and show me the
I have a
bean
pea
pictures. Come on. You can find it.
Hold
Look in
on.
there.
There's the
Okay,
beans.
broad beans. Now look closely. They are like they look like
Kinda
lima
like lima.
beans, or maybe they're fava beans or something like that.
And then here's our
And-
peas.
And peas were a big thing, and people would bring the peas to the market, and people would that's their job. They would shell peas. You imagine all day long shelling peas? Boring.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, pears. There are many different kinds, but the large bell pear, sometimes called the pound pear, the yellowest is the best. In the same town, they differ essentially. In other words, there's no pears. I guess there are
Yeah,
pears.
they're in the little basket.
What are the pomegranates
I
doing
had
there?
to study it. I was like, are there pears in this picture? There they are. I found them.
Right, and there's our melons, there's our peaches, there's
I
grapes.
love the loaf. See how it's on the left-hand side, the sugar loaf?
Loaf of sugar, yeah. There you go, look at that.
Because you don't see it broken up very
No,
often,
you don't.
So.
With the blue paper ripped open. And I'm going to get an idea of size here. So we have hard winter pears, harvest and summer pears. We have apples. She's listing here. What is that? How many millions of, here we go. How many millions of fruit trees would spring into growth, and what a savings to the Union. The net saving in time extinguishes the public debt and enriches our cookery. But she really liked apples.
They were pushing the apples, which they're really great for storage, which most fruit is not. So I can see why they were
Save the
excited.
country. Grow more apples.
Right.
Grapes are natural to the climate, grow spontaneously in every state in the Union. They didn't have as many back then. And 10 degrees north of the line of the Union. The Madeira, Lisbon, and Malaga grapes are cultivated in gardens in this country and are a rich treat or dessert. Trifling attention only is necessary for their ample growth. Well, I beg to differ, especially if you have goats. If you have goats, they want to come and they want to eat all the leaves and ruin your grapes. We are going to take a break from this particular. We're going to get back into the receipts part, but this pretty much brings the close to the choosing the food part. And let's talk about the Iowa State Fair. Can you imagine what is connected to the Iowa State Fair that we have anything to talk about here, and that is this amazing set of folks here. What's the name? You didn't put the name here.
Bubbly was the name
Right,
of
Bubbly
the
Bistro something. Anyway, I was contacted by they have a homestead, and they're also doing food here at the Iowa State Fair, and they have a large menu of very interesting drinks and food, and one of the things that has been added and that is sort of highlighted there at the Iowa State Fair is Parmesan ice cream. So they're a big fan of the channel, and kids enjoy it and everything else. And they brought on the Parmesan ice cream, which is an episode that was actually brought on when we went down to Conner Prairie. And Parmesan ice cream is so good. I'm not just kidding. You know, you think about it's like Parmesan ice cream.
Is it savory? No.
It is salty and sweet and savory. It's all good. It's all good. I'll bet you a little bit of mushroom ketchup and it'll really be good. No. So you just put a link in them. So you can
Yes.
check that out. Super thank you to the folks there that experimented and brought this to multiple people. So if you're at the Iowa State Fair, you can actually try out Parmesan ice cream, apparently. And if it wasn't a long way away, I would go and check it out myself. Sounds like fun. Also, we're here all at the midway point, and I try to get to the new and renewing YouTube members and new Patreon folks every time. This week, of course, last week I was doing the reading of the truncated reading of Common Sense, so I didn't have a chance to do that. So here we go. New and renewing YouTube members: Michael Powderly, Nathan Kraus, Dustin Decker, Tennessee Blacksmith 2018, EA Precision Builders, Tim and Fat, I can't, well, they put in parentheses, Mia, so I'll go with that, or Maya, Lucky Amon, Henry, Mr. Fox 5428, Hika Mio, MCLOL, and then there's Kevin Pennington, Jeremy Alvarado, Albrix, I don't even know how to say that one, Niels Zumbrink, Casilo, maybe, Dave Park, Matt Conlon, and Mayor McCheese. That's a good one. And then a brand new Patreon, and there's a lot of Patreon folks there, so super thank you. That is Sally Forth. I like that one. Okay. Now, you want to jump in?
No,
You have
we're all
anything to
good.
say? Nobody's got anything to say
Okay,
here.
there were some questions. Would you like the questions?
Yeah.
Okay, somebody was interested. They were wondering what the earliest Asian influences were in here
Asian
in the United.
influences.
I don't think there's a little bit of Indian, like the curry.
Right.
In some of the later, like 1830 maybe.
Oh,
Or-
we'll even
it
find
was-
that in hand glass,
Yeah.
right? So English cookery, you're going to find, things from connections from India, and you'll find some ingredients from other places, China or whatever.
And the sauce, like the mushroom ketchup, is like maybe perhaps.
Well, that's probably more connected with garum
right.
and Roman fish sauces.
That's true. Yes. So I don't know if in our time period there are many echoes yet. I don't actually know when it starts.
Although garum might even be connected with Asian fish sauces that might be inspired by that. So
Yes.
it's hard to know, but there aren't any like direct links that we see in 18th century cookery. That's very easy to find.
So it must be later than what we're familiar
Exactly.
with. And then somebody was wondering how they decided what the good recipes were and what to put in the cookbooks. Did they just toss lots of recipes in? did they, were these, some of them were compiled by people who ran restaurants.
Yeah, so if we look at something like London Art of Cookery, John Farley, he was the principal cook at the London Tavern. So yes, we got that. So they're going to know what's popular and put that in the cookbook. I think it's, they're going to choose recipes that people are going to. It's like what are people commonly eating? I'm going to put recipes in for that. I don't know that there's a lot of great. It's like I'm going to invent a recipe and I'm going to put it in my cookbook. I don't think that's what happens. I think sometimes we have cookbooks like that today where, people are trying to add something to, the culinary world. And in the 18th century, the idea of printing it was you're adding to the culinary knowledge of the world by just printing directions.
Okay, I've got a couple of super chats here. So this first one is from Speed and Style Tony. Speaking of cookbooks, how is yours coming along?
No, don't even talk
We totally got derailed by how busy the 250th was this year.
Yes.
Totally threw us off track. One of these days.
Yes.
And then this one's from Max Arkle. Really enjoying the topic today and love the images selected.
Somebody worked hard on that.
I was having a fun time picking the images because there's such a lot of beautiful artwork. A lot of it's still life. I don't get to use it that often, so this is fun to get to kind of pull some of that in. Okay. All right. We are ready to embark upon recipes.
So this is before the receipts to make the best bacon. And we all want to know about bacon, right?
Yes.
To each ham, put 1 ounce of saltpeter, 1 pint of bay salt, 1 pint of molasses, shake together 6 or 8 weeks. And when a large quantity is together, baste them with the liquor every day. So it'll pull moisture out, and you just keep recycling that. When taken out to dry, smoke 3 weeks with cobs or malt fumes. To every ham may be added a cheek if you stow away in a barrel and not alter the composition. Add some at a shoulder. For transportation or exportation, double the period of smoking. So it says bacon, and this is a really interesting point here, and that is we say bacon and we mean a very particular cut prepared in a very particular way, right? And their term for bacon is a lot more, it's almost like they're saying pork. What they're doing is saying sort of like salted pork, or well, that's not the word I want.
Preserved pork?
Yeah, kind of in a preserve. So, they're talking about using a ham here, not using a belly, and they're using potassium nitrate instead of sodium nitrate, which we would use today. Standard salt. It's got some sweetener in it. It's got molasses in it, and and we have more specific directions other places about how you deal with getting the salt on it, and this is being salted for 6 or 8 weeks and then being smoked. And even smoking in this case, we think of, it's smoked meat. The idea of salting a thing and smoking it, those go together. They very rarely, except for some kinds of fish maybe, would just smoke something. Today we will just smoke a thing. Then that it was always salted and then smoked. It was part of a process. It wasn't like that's all we're doing to it. We use smoking as mostly a kind of a flavor thing. They're doing it as a preservative. It's drying, and it's also putting a protective layer on the outside that nobody wants to penetrate. It's like, just what I wanted, some nasty smoke to try to get through. So that's what's going on here. And now we get into the receipts proper, or the recipes proper. And she starts off with to roast beef. And we did an episode on this specifically where we hung the beef and roasted it by her directions. And the directions are general rules: to have a brisk hot fire, to hang it down rather than to spit, to baste with salt and water, and 1/4 of an hour to every pound of beef. The tender beef will require less, while old tough beef will require more roasting. Pricking with a fork will determine whether it's done or not. She doesn't tell you. It's like, okay, I prick it with a fork. What? Right? What's supposed to happen? Rare done is the healthiest and the taste of this age. So great episode. You can check that out. We basically followed these directions, bang, right down to the letter, and it came out spectacularly. There's the idea of hanging it instead of spitting it. Probably that whole, putting you can easily have a contaminated spit, and it also goes into the middle of it, and maybe you don't want it to cook like that, and so...
Well, maybe this keeps the juices in more.
Yeah, it keeps the juices in more, exactly. Makes it more tender and not get as tough. So there's a bunch of stuff to learn about that. She goes on to tell us about roast mutton. I don't know. I don't think I've had mutton or lamb more than twice in my entire life. Just not something that is common around here. Probably something I should do more on the channel, but you could find lamb, but you're not going to find mutton. No.
I think we did some lamb kebabs one time.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Roast mutton. If a breast must be called, in other words, has a cover over the top of it. If a leg stuffed or not, let it be done more gently than beef, and done more. The chin or chine, saddle, or leg require more fire and a longer time than the breast. Garnish with scraped horseradish and serve with potatoes, beans, cauliflower, watercresses, or boiled onion, caper sauce, mashed turnip, or lettuce. Notice, a caper sauce? This is 1796. This is America. And she's talking about a caper sauce. What? What? Anyway, that's very surprising. To stuff a turkey, and we did many turkey episodes, a couple of different turkey episodes, most of them based directly upon this. So we hang a turkey. Great wheat loaf, 1/4 of a pound of butter, 1/4 of a pound of salt pork, finely chopped, 2 eggs, some sweet marjoram, savory, parsley, sage, salt, pepper. Fill up the bird and sew it up. The same will answer for all wild fowl. So this one's more about the stuffing it than the cooking it. But then later on, she goes into to stuff and roast. So that's the stuffing, which has salt pork in it. I don't know how you get, that really cooked up enough, because that's not easy to get the stuffing in a turkey to really, really cook. What does she say? Basically, the second one has bread, has beef suet, eggs, thyme, marjoram, salt, pepper, wine, sew it up in the bird, hang it down to the fire like we did in the episode, baste it with salt and water, roast it until steam emits from the breast, put 1/3 of a pound of butter into the gravy, dust it, and do all that good stuff. So it turned out really good. I'm not sure whether we stuffed it though. Can't remember that part. To smother a fowl with oysters. Fill the bird with dry oysters. Sew it up, boil it in water. Okay, I'm gonna stop there.
There's a reason we didn't make this one.
To Alamode around a beef, I'm pretty sure we did something like that.
I thought we did too, but I couldn't remember.
But it's not this one, because this one takes 14 or 16 pounds of a round of beef. That's a big chunk of meat. Put 1 ounce of saltpeter to it, and 48 hours after, stuff it with the following. We've got beef, we've got salt pork, We got 2 pounds of grated bread. We chop it all up, put in some butter, cayenne pepper, very interesting, savory, thyme, lay it on skewers in a big pot, put a whole bunch of water on it, and boil the snot out of it. Okay. So, see that calf's head there?
Here's another one we haven't made.
Yeah, I'm just not. I don't even want to look at what's behind it. They're like little larks.
I was so sad because, of course, we don't eat songbirds, and I'm always sad to see them.
Well, and what is that hanging above them? Like woodpecker or something?
I'm not quite sure, right? I don't. Maybe they
I
look
know
a
what
little
that
bit
bird is, but I can't remember what it's called.
A hoopoo? I don't know.
I'm sure someone in the chat will know. They reminded me maybe a bit of a flicker.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So, to dress a calf's head turtle fashion, the head and feet being well scalded and cleaned, open the head, take out the brains. See,
Nope, just right there. You're like, you know what? Maybe not.
I mean, we're not even a full sentence in. Boil the head, the feet, heart slit, and one. Several cut the skin. I don't even want to read it. It's a big, complicated recipe, and I mean, you got to start off with a calf's head. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, on past the calf's head, turtle fashion. We're not gonna do that. Stew pie. So I did this one. It's been probably 5 years, but this was a really good recipe. So we have beef, salt and pepper, butter, and slices of raw salt pork. So we have beef. Actually, she calls for veal, but same thing here in this circumstance. Raw pork, make a layer of meat and a layer of biscuit. So we've got this layer of dough here. Layer of biscuit or biscuit dough in a pot and cover it close, and we stew it half an hour in 3 quarts of water only. So it's like a boiled, in fact, it's right beside a sea pie, and it's done in a similar fashion. This is a boiled meat pie. In many of the 18th century recipes, they seem to put this into a cloth. It can be a lot harder to do, and in what I did here, and I think what she really calls for here, is doing it in a dish. So in this case, in the sea pie, instead of the salt pork and beef, we make a paste, and then we put in what she calls for in the sea pie, split pigeons and turkey and veal and mutton or birds and slices of pork and salt and pepper and then flour, and then you just keep making layers of that same thing over and over. Very, very common in the 18th century. And we have the paste all the way around it, and we boil it. And the paste gives you, we expect this as a pie, and we bake it. And so the crust does something totally different. I don't think Americans are ready for this. I just don't. I don't think it's like,
so.
Why is this like doughy?
Yeah.
It kind of cooks. It's not true dough, but it is not. It's not pie crust.
It's not crust the same way.
No.
And I do, like, somebody was mentioning in chat about how often they boiled things.
Yeah.
And it totally makes sense when you think about how temperamental cooking on an open fire can be.
Oh, yeah.
And how hard it is to keep the temperature consistent. And the water is so protective, right?
Yeah, right. It's like sous vide, right? It only cooks at 212 degrees. You don't ever have to worry about, it's like, oh, it's all burnt up. It's like, you could boil this forever. And it is not going to overcook. So there's that. There's a chicken pie episode. Is this the one with the bug lines on thing? It doesn't look. That one's inside.
This was one you made. Ryan did a different recipe where
Okay.
he made a chicken pie, but this one was
We've
one you
done
made.
so many recipes.
I know.
Okay, chicken pie. We start off with pick and clean 6 chickens. Have you guys ever plucked a chicken or anything? Just don't. I think you can just skin them. And you're like,
It's
it's
very
totally
tempting,
cheating.
right? Because
Right,
the
it's like,
plucking, like, it takes a long time.
ugh, it's terrible.
And
There's still little feathers
if
stuck
you're
in it.
picky, like, then, like, you think it's plucked, and then you're like, no, it's not done yet. There's still, like, a half hour to go to get it really, really clean.
Yuck. Minced pies. And we start off with feet. Scald neat's feet and clean well.
Get a good jelly.
Grass-fed are best, right? We have a tongue pie down here, and it has 1 pound of neat's tongue, which is not as easy to find in the grocery stores as it used to be. And mainly because, I mean, I think if they packaged it in a way that you couldn't tell it was a tongue.
Yeah, I think because like when we had a cow tongue, it unlike a lot of meat cuts looks like it's still the piece of the animal, and it is a little harder.
Whereas
when
if you cut it like into cubes or something, I think people would go, "Oh wow, that's really fine, interesting."
it is like it has a
textured
very
meat."
fun texture and everything.
Anyway, 1 pound of neat's tongue, 1 pound of apples, 1/3 of a pound of sugar. We have butter, we have raisins, currants, and we bake it in a number 1 crust. So I'm not sure if she's calling for us to chop this up. It doesn't call for that, but maybe. Because the next recipe, we really do have to read into some of these, what's going on. What's the next recipe? Just like the stew pie and the sea pie go together, they inform on each other. This neat's pie, this minced, I guess let's say minced, right? The tongue pie is right underneath that minced pie, and the next recipe is a minced pie. So I'm betting you we are supposed to mince up that tongue.
Yeah,
Right. Chop it up really fine.
right. Like that's the category we're in. Yeah,
That's right.
because that is the way this is listed. Is you're in kind of sections.
Right. All meat pies require a hotter, brisker oven than fruit pies. In good cookeries, all raisins should be stoned. Who wants to run into a stoned raisin?
I do think that it is like one of the things that happens, just like studying history in general, but studying food, the history of food is it really makes you grateful for the ease. Like I've never had to stone a raisin.
Can you
in my life.
imagine if there were seeds in every raisin and you had to take them out? You would never even cook with
Well,
raisins.
you'd
You would
like
say,
that just be your
"That's not
like you'd
worth
be
it."
chatting with your friends while you were stoning raisins for an hour, right? And it'd just be a background thing.
No way. As people differ in their tastes, they may alter their wishes, as it is difficult to ascertain with precision the small articles of spicery everyone may relish as they like and suit their taste. In other words, if you like it with something different, then make it that way.
This is us leaving the rose water out.
Well, and you know, interestingly enough, if you read lots of comments on recipes, modern website, and people will say, "Can I make this with?" It's like,
Absolutely,
make
this
it
is a
any way
time-honored
you want.
tradition.
Right here it says, make it whatever way you want. Why she has to give us the direction, we don't know, but obviously some people need the. It's like, this is not rocket science. You can change it. It's okay. Apple pie. Stew and strain apples. See, we wouldn't make an apple pie like this. This is an apple sauce pie. Stew and strain apples. To every 3 pints, grate a peel of lemon, fresh lemon, and cinnamon, mace, rose water. Don't do that. And sugar to your taste. Bacon and number 3 paste. Notice here, she doesn't say if you can find lemons in the market. She expects you to be able to get lemons. We've got lemons, we've got cinnamon, we've got mace, and rose water. Every species of fruit, such as peas, plums. It says peas right there.
Yes, it does.
Peas, plums, raspberries, blackberries may only be sweetened without the spices and baked in the number. Peas? You're going to make a pea pie? Maybe this is a misprint. Maybe it's not supposed to be peas.
Could be.
Hold
I
on.
mean, there were the bean tarts.
Hold on. Yeah, but I gotta. We're gotta find this. Turkey, turtle, chicken pie, foot pie, tongue pie, apple pie. Nope, it says peas.
Mysterious.
Currant pie. Take green, full-grown currants. Nah, I know red currants and white currants and black currants. I do not know green currants. And then 1/3 the quantity in sugar, proceed as above. Why didn't she just say currants in that? Anyway. Buttered apple pie. Pare and quarter and core tart apples. Lay them. See, this is more like it. This is an actual apple pie. We take our apple slices. We cover. Look, this is great. Pare, quarter, and core tart apples. Lay in a paste. Cover with the same. In other words, put more paste on the top and bake it. That's it. That's it. That's
What can go wrong?
There is nothing else here. Gently raise the top crust. Add sugar, butter, cinnamon, mace, wine, or rose water as you see fit. So you just bake those apples, and if you see fit, throw some other stuff in there.
People were proposing that maybe it was either peaches or pears and it got cut off. And
Well-
either one sounds likely.
You see the back cover here? It says here. I like the way she says this. The author of American Cookery, not having an education sufficient to prepare the work for the press, the persons that was employed by her and entrusted with the recipes to prepare them for publication with the design to impose on her and injure the sale of the book, did omit several articles of essential to some recipes and place others in their stead, which were highly injurious to them without her consent, which was unknown to her till after publication. So
Just
maybe
throwing those editors under the
I
bus.
think someone was being a little dramatic.
someone did it. They're against me. It is a conspiracy. She goes on. So there's a buttered apple pie recipe. That one's really good. Rice puddings. So we did a set of rice puddings, the fancy and the plain. And we have a picture here of both of those. We did those as 2 separate episodes. Today, we would make it one big episode.
Yes.
And it turns out that, I mean, I don't want to ruin it for you, but the cheesy one was better than the complicated one. But they were both okay.
Spoilers.
But yeah, spoiler alert. Turns out, cheap one was better. She spends a good deal of time with more than one version of the nice Indian pudding. Indian pudding. So Indian puddings are one of those classic corn dishes. This is a corn pudding is what it is. And we're using it kind of like a rice pudding, but it's going to have molasses in it. It's going to have the corn in it. And it's going to be completely different. So let's see. Number 1 uses milk and cornmeal and eggs and raisins and butter and sugar. So just sugar instead of molasses. I don't see one that is with molasses, but that's a classic way of doing it. We also, number 2 is essentially the same. I don't know why she has a separate one. And then the third one is definitely a misprint here, which has the cornmeal and the milk and a cloth And then it says secure from wet and boil 12 hours, and it's not supposed to boil 12 hours. I did an episode on that and another episode where I hopefully fixed that. So you can check out those Indian pudding recipes. There's a Sutherland pudding. I'm not familiar with that one. We have a white pot recipe, which is, white pot is really, really good. It's like a bread pudding, super, super good. I didn't probably make it out of this, but it's really good. The next one here is a bread pudding, which we did. We use bread or biscuits soaked in milk and then run through a sieve and a colander. We have eggs, we have sugar, we have butter, we have nutmeg, of course, and rose water, along with stoned raisins and cream, and we bake it in a middling oven. Super good. I'll skip to this this apple pudding recipe, or apple pudding dumpling here, which we did something similar to this, where you just take paste, you take your quartered apple, she doesn't say to core it, but we want to core it. We put it in, wrapped up in a cloth, and we boil it for 2 hours. We serve it with a sweet sauce. It couldn't be easier. It's like, put an apple in some paste and then boil the snot out of it, and then, you know, add some sugar on top when you're done, and it's going to be really good. Yep, it is. It's basically like a boiled apple pie. We can do pears and plums the same way. It might be really interesting as a pear.
I did have roasted pears and stone fruit, plums and peaches one time, and they were really good.
Right. We have a potato pudding, and I want to try this one out. So you might see this in some future episode. It says 1 pound of boiled potatoes, and the second recipe says to mash them. I think that's implied in the first one too. So we have 1 pound of potatoes, 1 pound of sugar, and a half a pound of butter, and 10 eggs. Probably about a pound of eggs, right? Maybe a half pound. So it's potatoes, sugar, butter, eggs in not quite equal proportions, but pretty much. Whir them all up and bake them, right? The second one has milk and cream and lemon and nutmeg and whatever. But regardless, we're baking this. It sounds like it's going to turn out to be like a faux cheesecake or sugar cream pie made with potato. I don't know.
That's
It's
why
only
we
one way to
try
find
that.
out. Only one way to find out. We have a carrot pudding. We've done that one. The crook neck. So there I am apparently mashing carrots. I don't know if I would suggest a carrot pudding. I don't remember anything good about that.
Yeah, I don't know if this one called the
I
people.
mean, it reminds me of like carrots that you would make as baby food. You know, it's like mashed up carrots. I don't think so.
It just
There,
didn't appeal to our modern tastes.
there's a crook neck winter squash pudding and a pumpkin pudding. Same thing. And we make basically, they call it a pudding. We would turn it into a pie, and that's exactly what I did. And it turned out super, super good. So there is a pumpkin pie recipe in this. So far, and we've used this for Thanksgiving. This book, basically, a couple of series for Thanksgiving. So it's got your roasted turkey in it. It's got your stuffing in it. It's got your pumpkin pie in it. And it has things like currant sauce, and it also has cranberries in it. I'll see if I can find the cranberries. Cranberries, custards, royal pastes. It does have pies and puddings in it, a good deal of that. It's got lemon cream in it, so you can find that lemon cream picture, where we make it reminds me of lemon curd, except, you know, you can have it kind of warm. Super duper good. And we have Johnny cakes. So there's a delight. So how old were you in this one, Ivy? You're probably 10 years old in the lemon cream episode.
Yeah,
With me.
Yeah,
yes,
see,
Michael
you were there.
DeGroo's there, and you
Yeah,
are.
you can see
and
your hands.
I think maybe a little bit younger than 10.
Look at those tiny little child hands. I think I remember the donuts.
Yeah,
I don't remember the lemon
that
curd.
was really good. You put it on that donut and woo, right over the
The
top.
donuts are the best things ever.
They are.
I know that.
They are. We got to redo a donut episode.
Yes. I will be there.
This does have a Johnny cake or hoe cake recipe and Indian slapjacks. So both of those are in here, cooking with cornmeal. Again, something you will not find in other cookbooks of the time period, especially English cookbooks. We have cakes, and we haven't done a lot of the cakes in here, but we did do, there's the slapjacks, cornmeal pancakes. We haven't done a lot of the cakes. We have done some of the cakes out of the other cookbooks. It is basically a copy of what you're going to find in other cookbooks. This does have cookies in it, and we have done several times talking about cookies. And several of the cookie recipes have in them chemical leavening, which you will not find anyplace else. She calls for potash or pearl ash, basically similar. This is potassium carbonate, which is related to sodium bicarbonate, which is what we use for our chemical leavening. Not quite the super active version of it. It's not going to have as much carbon dioxide bubbling out of it, but it will work, and it works a little differently. So if you combine most of the sodium bicarbonate baking soda today, if you cook it or if you put it in the thing, it will have probably an acid in it. It will start reacting right away. Something like these potassium carbonates are generally not reacting right away, but they start to react when they get heated in the oven. So it's a little slower process and they don't puff up nearly as much. So we've got cookies. So there's our German connection here. We've got molasses gingerbread, and I think we did a couple of gingerbread episodes. I'm not sure if we used this cookbook for them, but one of them is a molasses gingerbread. We also did pound cakes, and I don't know if I would call, they're not the same kind of pound cake that we have. They are definitely the pound thing going on, right? So they're equal portions of 1 pound of sugar, 1 pound of butter, 1 pound of flour, and 1 pound or 10 eggs. Sounds a lot like that potato pudding, except they're using flour here instead of potatoes. And then we have some spices and we bake it in a slow oven. Sometimes she's doing something very, very similar, little soft cakes in a pan. Basically cupcakes is what she's doing here. We've got some other cakes. We've got bread recipes, but they're not really bread. It says diet bread. It's diet bread, right? We think diet bread, we probably think some little thin thing that's, low carb, or maybe it's...
I think of a diet zero, diet Dr. Pepper or something.
So here's diet bread. Starts off with 1 pound of sugar. It's a different kind of diet if you ask me. 9 eggs, beat for an hour. Add 14 ounces of flour, a spoonful of rose water, some cinnamon or coriander, and then bake it quick. That's not diet bread. I don't know what it is. We got rusks, and there's nothing like what we think rusks are, and cookies or biscuits. We do have things that she calls biscuits. We have preserving strawberries, which we did in one of the episodes where they don't look that tasty here, but we preserved them in sugar. That's what strawberries need, a whole lot of sugar. We do have pickling cucumbers in here, not a lot of pickling. To boil all kinds of garden stuff. To boil broad beans. What do we not find in here? We finally kind of follow up with brewing spruce beer at the end, at the very end of this, which again, super interesting. We will not find in other places. So it definitely has some just crazy interesting recipes for the time period that you won't find in English cookery books. You will find the connections though. So sometimes you're going to find a recipe that's exactly like is in an English cookery cookbook. So we get to see a blending of different kinds of ingredients, different kinds of cooking methods, and cultural references that come in just a tiny little cookbook. This cookbook is available. You can get it online. If you want the digital version, you can find it on Gutenberg. It's really hard to find facsimile copies that look like this, like digital versions that are scanned. Very hard to find. You will not find it on Google Books as far as I know, or archive.org. If you want a printed version, you can find it on our website along with some of our other ones. This is one of the few cookbooks that is done in the purely facsimile version, just printed and bound exactly like they would have done it in the 18th century. I'll take a breath, jump in.
Ready for some questions?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on, let me go scroll back to them. Okay, so this is from Charles Furling. Apples on a skewer grilled on a brazier with a little butter and nutmeg. And we were talking a little bit about some more recipes. Now that we have some skewers, our blacksmith, brought us some. And so we were thinking about, what other, I was looking at a recipe that had morels on it. But there's other options.
Skewered morels.
Yes. I mean, I'm so used to frying them. Seems a little like sacrilege.
Yeah. You could, just do regular button mushrooms, big button mushrooms.
Yeah.
And try them like that.
And, test it with something that's not quite as precious as a morel. And then here's the super chat from Farmer's Wife. Cheers to Fridays with nutmeggers.
Yay!
So we're all happy to have reached Friday. It's almost time to enjoy the weekend. Okay, and I feel like there was a question. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can get back to it. Okay, yes. Did the U.S. use chemical leavening more frequently than the U.K. due to the lack of easy access to something like barm?
I don't think that it was a negation. I don't think it was a lack of availability as so much it was the availability of pearl ash. So here we are in America, we're trying to get rid of all these trees that are in our way. We can't farm with them, and we're burning it all down. Potash and pearl ash become a large a commodity product that's sold into other parts of the world because we're burning down all these trees, and what else can you do with the ash? And so pearl ash and potash are something that's easily available, and the connection between the cultural German and Dutch, who are probably using those in their like cookies and confectionery, things like gingerbread, much earlier. So the British aren't really doing that at all, versus the Germans using that. And so there's a cultural connection that's saying, oh yeah, we can use this leavening. Again, I spend a lot of time when I cover the potash cakes episode. Have I done that more than once? Probably. Potash cakes, remember that? I'll talk about that kind of intensely in those episodes about why they're using it, and how Margaretta Curley's 1799 recipe printed in Great Britain brings that whole concept to the British public, and you start to actually see it being used in English cookery cookbooks in 1808, and after that, probably because of that one single article that Margaretta Curley published. Somebody's trying to find it.
No, I'm not. I'm talking
No.
to somebody.
Oh. So, have we done it?
Yes, I
We
think
are
we're all
there.
caught up.
We are there, and we're over time. The whole tavern's gonna turn into a pumpkin unless I get out of here. Super thank you for coming into the episode today, and chatting and having your questions and your support of what we do here. This is what I spend time doing. It's like reading cookbooks and saying, whoa, what's going on with this recipe? Capers, what? So there are so many surprising things that we can find in these cookbooks. Things that aren't there, that we expect to find, and there aren't, and things that we would never expect to find that we do. And so this paints a whole different picture about what America is like in 1796. This tells us what we will find in the markets. This tells us the kinds of ways people are cooking and they aren't cooking. So very, very interesting. I want to thank everyone for coming along today and being so wonderful, supportive of your comments in the channel in general, especially sharing our videos. That's how people find out about what we do. And when you share a video, that can make more difference than you can ever imagine. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Ivy. And I hope you have a super tremendous weekend. Thanks for watching today.